Welcome to M2Techcast, a live internet radio show offering the latest news and interviews with the people driving business, technology, and politics in Michigan. Now, your hosts, Matt Roush and Mike Brennan.
Hey, it's Matt Roush.
And Mike Brennan.
And we're back with another episode of the M2Techcast. We had hoped to be in our new TV studio today. We are experiencing some technical difficulties, or we are experimenting with anyway.
It has been an interesting 3 weeks. First, we didn't have AC, then we didn't have power, and now Skype has updated and screwed everything up. So next week, by golly, we're going to get in that studio next week because we're going to hold this guy to it.
Yeah, that's right.
Sitting next to my partner in crime is Dave Phillips, who's one of the partners here who runs the big studio.
One of the founders.
One of the founders
That's
themselves.
right.
We feel very privileged to have Dave joining us. And we're looking forward to Dave getting all these problems fixed. But Dave has other issues he's dealing with as well. Well, let's talk about what's going to happen once we get into the new studio, Dave. I've been in there. Matt has been in there. It looks exciting. We're excited. And so next week, maybe.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just something different. I mean, we had enough people that had asked or had said, hey, the cameras in the studio, in the regular podcast studios are cool, but we want something that looks more like a TV set.
Right.
So it's kind of what we built out up there. It's got, the big cherry desk. It's got, a couple couches, a couple chairs for different configurations. We've got 13 or 14 different backdrops in there, which laughably we've actually had more people book it so far for photography shoots than we have. And we've got a couple video shows running in there. Like, we've got Chuck Bennett up and running in there. We've got a couple other folks that are doing some one-offs. But yeah, we've had a lot of photographers use it for shoots so far, which is, who knew?
Well, as long as they pay for it, who cares?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Money talks. So we're, as you can see, we're still in the old radio studio, essentially, although you can't really call it radio, I suppose, because it's the internet.
Because there's cameras now. That's right.
Well, yeah. So this is the third week we've done this. You get a chance to see the very colorful studio here. And we're looking forward to getting over there. And our first guest, we hope, is going to be Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, who's going to be our first video studio guest at, actually, I know he's about 245, so he'll be our fourth, but nevertheless, he'll be in the next week grouping.
And make sure that backdrop goes way up high, because he's really tall. So,
Well, actually, he's going to be Skyping in, which is one of the reasons he didn't join us this week, because we had Skype issues.
That was the issue, was
that
Skype.
Was
the
issue.
beauty of technology, when the technology no longer allows you to pull a video input into the video feed, that's a problem.
That's sort of problematic.
And we offered to put his picture up there, but his staff said, no, we want the real thing.
So, Dave, for those who don't know, let's hear a Cliff's Notes version of how you and Bob came to be proprietors of this emporium here.
Wow. So I guess all the way back in 2001, we started a networking group, which at the time was called Detroit Net and evolved into IT and the D. So that's, old, 18 years ago now. In early 2013, a friend of a friend built out a studio in the Russell Industrial Center.
I remember that.
And I went on a couple of their shows talking about us and our group and who we are and what we do, helping people find jobs. They called me up the next month and said, hey, one of our co-hosts called in sick and you've always been fun. You want to come hang out for the night? And I said, sure, why not? Had a blast. They called me up the next night or the next month and said, hey, our Monday night show from 9 to 11 is bailing. You want 2 hours of airtime every week? Yep. So I called Bob Memorial Day weekend of 2013 and said, hey, we're launching a show. We're launching a podcast on Monday night, to which Bob responded, WTF is a podcast. And I said, it'll be fine. We're going to have a couple drinks and put mics in our faces. Life's good. So that was June 3rd of 2013. We just passed our 6-year anniversary with our show. And, we kind of blew up a little bit and got really lucky with some guests that we had. And so in early 2015, it was time to leave. In fact, I believe it was when Mayor Duggan wanted to come on. And we had to say no because, well, it's the Russell Industrial Center and the entire floor of the building smelled like a Cheech and Chong set. So our buddy Neil had a couple of extra office suites down at 8.5 in Hilton, and we adopted one and built out a studio just for us. I mean, that was. I mean, there was no grand ambition there. It was like us, our own little private man cave, doing our show, doing our thing, and that was May of 2015. We moved there. It took all of 4 weeks before people started nagging us, and we're like, all right, guys, look, seeing the pictures on Facebook, you got this great studio you're literally using for 2 hours a week. Stop being jerks, open the doors, we want to do a podcast. So July of 2015, in fact, yesterday was the 4-year anniversary, July 21st. We launched Podcast Detroit out of that single studio. By January of 2016, we were full and didn't have any more time slots left to give people. We went hunting, found this building in Royal Oak, moved here May of 2016. We were at the old spot exactly a year. And just been growing ever since. So we've got the 4 studios here. We've had a couple of not so phenomenal experiments and attempts downtown. We were in the Penobscot for a short while. We were down in Southwest for a little bit. But what we have going on now downtown at the Detroit Shipping Company is just going like gangbusters. It's great. I mean, that's a phenomenal place and a great studio.
So when was it that you started doing the really big numbers? I know that you're up well over 500,000 listens a week, right?
Well, yeah, we're typically 300,000 to 500,000 downloads and listeners a week. It was, I mean, we didn't even know podcast advertising was a thing. I think it was late 2014 that Midroll reached out to us and was like, "Hey, we noticed your show. You guys want to do ads?" And we were like, "What?" And they're like, "Well, we'll
no, trust me. You reach 500,000 people. Advertisers will reach out to you and say, "Take my money."
Oh yeah,
you don't have to sell.
Yeah, that was what happened. They were like, "We'll give you a bag of money. Just read these little 30-second spots."
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we'll see what happens. And so yeah, no, we typically have anywhere from 2 to 4 reads a night for our show, and it's whether you listen to podcasts or terrestrial radio, I mean it's all the same ads. It's Xfinity, it's Blue Apron, it's HelloFresh, it's Stamps.com. It's always fun.
Okay. And do you remember what the guest was or what the show was that the first couple that really did the big numbers?
So we always went through what I called hockey sticks of growth, where we'd be plateaued for a little while and then something would happen and we'd jump. The first jump we had, like the first time we ever broke 20,000 listeners, was when we had Mike Goldman, who was the proprietor of Motor City Comic Con on. The year after, they had a debacle of a year because of some issues they had there, and he wanted to come on and just kind of smooth some ruffled feathers in the geek community. And then we had a few others, but like the big one, like the first time we ever broke 100,000 was when we so Taco Bell apparently found 1,000 of what they thought were social media influencers across the country and sent them a burner phone that would have like these stupid little missions and messages on them. And we found the guy in Detroit that got one. And so we had him on the show, and we literally just spent the entire 2 hours talking about how stupid Taco Bell was. And like he would tell us about all these, and we're tweeting at them the entire night, and they kept retweeting everything, which was just amazing. Because I mean, social media, like they're one of the companies that does it. They have a great sense of humor about stuff, always have. And that was, I mean, our listeners went through the roof. I mean, the biggest one we've ever had when we had. It was William Davis, who was the smoking man on the X-Files.
Oh, sure.
And it was a couple of the other Comic-Con guests that year. That was the first one we ever had that broke 1 million.
Wow.
So that was pretty nuts. But I mean, so yeah, we're usually, like I said, between 300,000 and 500,000. It really depends on who our guests are and that kind of stuff. And it's kind of cool. I mean, it's allowed us to kind of be the anchor for the network and help bring attention to the shows here. Because like I said, we never really had any intention of doing this nonsense, and now we have 100 and some odd shows recording out of the studios, and some get 4 listeners per episode, and some get 4,000. Some, I mean, it's all over the map. But I mean, it's kind of nice providing a platform for people to kind of find their voice and tell their stories.
Well, and that's one of the things I honestly do admire about you guys is you could have just taken that bag of money and put it in your pocket.
Oh yeah,
but instead.
No, it's the slush fund that powers everything we do.
You put it into this.
Yeah.
So yeah. So you've got 4 studios here and the other one downtown.
Yep.
Right?
And then we've got so like I said, now we've got the video studio in the building up front. We took that over, and then we are pretty rapidly here opening up studios in Northville, Toledo, and Grand Rapids.
Oh wow.
As well.
Okay. That's the first I've heard of that, so some news has broken out here.
Expanding. I was trying to get him to come to Ann Arbor since I live there, but then,
oh, wouldn't that be convenient for
Yes.
you?
Ooh,
Not
very
so
nice.
much for me.
I mean, Northville is closer.
yeah, Northville. That might
well,
do Northville.
we could move the show to Northville if there's video there. So
Yeah, that's
I
true.
wouldn't mind.
Yeah,
I mean,
be a shorter drive for me.
yeah,
So.
yeah.
Anyway, we got about a little over a minute left, so What's talk a little bit about IT right now. What are you guys doing? What do you, I mean, and your audience, I guess, million people or whatever the number is, are the expatriates from Detroit? Or what?
It's all over the map. I mean, IT in the D, we still do. We've always done monthly networking events. We now do 2 a month. So first Tuesday of the month is always in the Ann Arbor area. Third Thursday is in Metro Detroit. Our demographics never cease to amaze us. Like, we always just assumed that our typical listener would be, nerds in data centers listening to us while the lights blink. But it's all over the map. I mean, every time we walk into a dive bar or something like that, the bartender's like, "Oh, hey, you're Bob and Dave. I listen to you guys every week. Why?" Well, I always listen to the first segment, keep up on, news and whatever breach, and do I have to be worried about this and that kind of stuff. And then depending on who your guests are, I may or may not listen to the rest of it, but I always listen to that every week. Okay. But yeah, we've got listen. The nice thing is since we started the show, we've had the group since 2001. So when the bottom fell out of the economy here and people left the area, by the time we launched our show in 2013, we had people that were all over the country that were still staying in touch with us and still visiting the website and still hanging out in the LinkedIn group. So by the time we launched the show in 2013, we already had like little seeds of listeners all across the country that were ready and waiting for us. So, basically anywhere there's now we have, I remember Alaska was the last state to fall. And we actually mounted a campaign to get listeners in Alaska. But it's fun. I mean, we have listeners, in all 50 states. We've got a bunch just across the border in Windsor. But primarily anywhere there's a tech hub is where we see the heat blooms from the metrics.
Got it. And tonight, you're on every Monday night from 9 to 11.
We are.
On PodcastDetroit.com.
Yeah.
And then iTunes and all the other places.
Everywhere fine podcasts are sold. That's why we
or given away.
Yeah.
In our case. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Well, we're getting the sign from Jessica. It's a good sign, actually. So we're at the end of this segment.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah. Always good to chat with you
Pleasure
guys.
talking to you. Thanks.
I'm going to go back to keep fixing stuff now.
Okay, good idea.
All right.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. We want to be in there next week. So,
Yes.
okay. For right now, this is Matt Roush.
And Mike Brennan.
And you're listening to the M2Techcast at PodcastDetroit.com.
Okay. Our
Hi there. It's Matt Roush.
Yes, and Mike Brennan. You
And
gotta
we're-
love technology.
And we're back with another segment of the M2Techcast right here at Podcast Detroit.
Yes, and we had hoped to be in the new TV studios, but our Monday morning perils continue. And we're told that maybe next week on the 29th we'll actually be in there. Let's keep our fingers crossed. But in the meantime, we have Sean, is it Gaydon?
Yes, Gaydon.
Okay, CEO of IntaCells?
Yes, IntaCells.
Yes.
Gosh, I'm doing good. Normally I just butcher pronunciation.
Absolutely.
Yes, actually she's your guest, so why don't you talk a little bit about her?
Okay. Well, IntaCells is a startup company involved in the lithium-ion battery business, and they are working on introducing some pretty disruptive technology that will both improve the performance and form factor of lithium-ion batteries and make them less expensive to produce. But I'm going to let Sean talk about that. And we'll also talk about the fact that they are a client of the Centropolis Accelerator, which is a hardware business accelerator that is co-run by the city of Southfield and my employer, Lawrence Technological University. That's why we ring the shameless plug bell, because whenever we do a shameless plug for our employers, we just let people know that we're plugging our employer.
We do, yes.
So Sean, tell me a little bit about, let's start sort of before IntaCells. What is your background and how did you happen to get into this industry?
Thank you, first of all, for having me here.
Sure.
Great pleasure to introduce IntaCells at this platform. I spent most of my career 27 around years in the automotive industry. So that was my background until I found that there's even bigger, more interesting, intriguing challenges that is battery manufacturing.
Okay, so what problems are you solving with this? Well, first, tell me a little bit about the company's technology. What is it that you're proposing to do?
Okay. When most of people hear about battery startup, most people will assume, another battery plant or battery material developer. And there are a lot of those very successful ones in the last decade. So what Intercells is set out for is that we want to focus on an area that hasn't gotten a lot of attention, which happens to be kind of the linchpin, and it is critical to get us into the next generation in terms of cost, both the integration of materials into the battery manufacturing, and also how you integrate the battery itself into an end-use product, from wearable cell phones all the way to electrical vehicles and grid storage. So we're looking at changing the way we use the material to make batteries, how you build the batteries from cell level all the way to pack in an entirely different way, because this is where you get the most benefit. There are a lot of smart people working in this area globally, but why do we still see an opportunity for a startup like us? That's why, because I think the manufacturing process needs to be upgraded because it's already run kind of into some of the limitations.
Okay, so what problem are you solving with the manufacturing process?
Very simply, we want to make the battery costless and perform more efficiently, both in terms of making it smaller, more flexible form factor, and also last longer. So we all have the experience of wishing you didn't have to charge battery I do charge my cell phone 3 times a day.
Right.
That's eventually make it more efficient in terms of cost, in terms of volume, so in terms of integration, form factor. That will open up a lot of new applications that are not possible today for everybody.
And you have some news to announce. I know it's not on our sheet here, but you just got a new round of funding and a new business partner. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So Intercells was founded about almost 2 years ago by myself and a German company. I was a equipment manufacturer. They're global leader. So we self-funded for the first 18 months, and we just closed our first round, a VC round. Got a lot of support from our potential customers and a lot of collaborations around the globe.
And you have a strategic partner that you're now working with.
Yes, that is also the co-founder, but they also separated themselves as a separate role as a strategic partner, and together with other German and U.S. national labs and universities.
So what does that German partner do? I know your technology involves the use of some kind of plasma technology, right? Talk about that a little bit if you could.
Yes. This is a special type of plasma technology, cold plasma, non-thermal. It's not normally recognized, especially in the battery field. This company, our manufacturer strategic partner, they have been doing this in developing the technology since the 90s. They have successfully developed multiple applications, touches on almost every aspect of industries, from healthcare to consumer products. Baby divers, I like to use that example. And then automotive. Automotive is the main applications field. So they have the know-how, but the existing technology needs to be modified, adapted, and we need to take it to a different direction in order to serve the battery industry. So having this the partner will save us a lot of time. They have the infrastructure, they have the knowledge, technical know-how. That's how we can quickly get to the market for our customers.
And who are those customers? Who will your customers be?
Yeah, our customers are battery manufacturers, people who are actually making batteries for example, automotive, for OEMs. We give them better tools, whether it's a better equipment, better process, better design, and be able to allow them to make use of materials to make battery more efficient. So we sell to battery manufacturers. we don't make the cells, at least at this point, ourselves. We don't want to compete with them, but we help them. We help the material suppliers be the better bridge from between the material supplier and battery manufacturers.
And as we know, all the automakers now are sort of, wouldn't say skipping over hybrids, they're still hybrids, but they're making a big push into totally electric vehicles. So being able to increase the range, reduce the weight, reduce the cost, those are all real critical, right?
Absolutely. Well, bottom line is the cost for consumers and affordability.
Right.
And if I have to think about trade my, Chevrolet, Tahoe or my vehicle today serves my purpose. I don't necessarily need something new, but until you can present a cost benefit,
right,
and it's quiet, acceleration is great, and it also protect the environment, but it has to be affordable.
Yeah,
So
I've heard stories that people are willing to pay a 5% premium above and beyond for advanced technologies, but once you get beyond that 5% point, then there's a little pushback. In other words, they'll spend a little extra, but not a lot extra, right?
Yeah. So it takes a better way of looking at how future electrical vehicle batteries can be integrated.
So why Michigan for this startup? Why'd you start it here?
Well, Michigan is really what I've been calling home for the last 30 plus years. And I owe to Michigan, especially the automotive industry, everything I know today. So it makes sense. Plus, there's no reason why Michigan can't be the next Silicon Valley, because battery manufacturing has been shifting eastward. And we see if we change the fundamental, the DNA of battery manufacturing, that could give Michigan and the U.S. a unique opportunity to be not only competitive, but be the leader.
Yeah, I know the MEDC and the governor is pushing for that. And the previous governor as well, Governor Snyder, they really want to make us the epicenter of the brains of the auto industry, and particularly in the electric space and autonomous vehicles.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about what Centropolis Accelerator in Southfield is doing for you.
One thing I did not expect when I first started the company was how much help there is in Michigan from the government, from MEDC, SBDC. I've benefited so much from day one. This is pretty much how we made it to this point. Yes, VC is important, but when you first started, you really didn't know whether you're going to make it or not. It's all these help that I've got from LTU and Centropolis and SBDC, people helping me from the business plan to financial forecast, from networking, just patent research, and just fantastic. I would say that was a surprise. I did not expect, because I've been in the corporate world, did not get a chance to see it. And I would say any new startups, Michigan is a great place to start.
We've got about 3 minutes left.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask the Matt question here.
Go ahead, Matt.
Okay. All right. Are you hiring right now, and what kind of skill sets are you looking for?
Thank you for that question. Yes, absolutely. We are touching on a non-conventional battery manufacturing skill set. As I said, it's a game-changing way of making batteries. So therefore, we not only need the materials, the chemists, the battery materials expertise, and traditional, but we're also looking at people who have done, for example, semiconductor manufacturing, or automation, or AI. So all disciplines will have a role to play in our company, and we need them to build an ecosystem, not just one. This is a huge undertaking. We're just being the kind of the pioneer. I hope more people will join us.
Well, certainly AI is very big everywhere, and hopefully it'll become big here as well. We're not. This country is sort of into AI, but not as big as China is into AI, and so hopefully we'll be changing that as we move forward.
So, what do you see as your biggest challenge at this point?
As in any new startup, it's always a challenge to decide how much you invest before you have the revenue coming in. And we play that balance, because I don't want to see us putting a lot of money just to develop and then look for customers. So from day one, we've always following the philosophy of making sure you're working on the right thing for your customers, since we have very specifically defined who our customers are.
Right.
So, and then again, you have to have something to show that prove that your technology works before customers believe in you.
Sure.
So that balance is going to continue as any stage of our company. So we don't want to, work on the wrong thing and not having the results. Don't want to oversell.
Okay, 1 minute left.
Okay. So do you have a website up at this point, or?
As you speak this morning, we're just start to get that up and running, but it's going to take a couple months to get it out.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
The company's name is Intecells, Inteccells. They are a client company of the LTU Centropolis Accelerator.
And if somebody wants to reach out to you, since you do not have a website, how would they do that?
It will be info, INFO, at intecells.com.
Okay. Thanks very much, Sean Gaydon, co-founder of Intecells. That's a company in Southfield that is looking to revolutionize the lithium-ion battery industry. We'll be back in just a minute with another segment. For right now, this is Matt Roush.
And Mike Brennan.
And you're listening to the M2Techcast.
All right. Are you going to let Rob come in?
Hey, it's Matt Roush.
Oh, shit.
Hey, it's Matt Roush.
And Mike Brennan.
And we're back with another segment of the M2Techcast right here at PodcastDetroit.com.
Yes. A little editing to do there.
That's all right.
Yeah, we have with us Tan Tran from Accelerate Kid. And he's going to be talking about a new book that he's coming out with, I believe, in August, right?
That is correct.
And it's going to help K-12 educators teach computer science. So tell us all about creating future creators.
Well, I want to say, first of all, thanks for having me back again. I always
Sure.
love talking to you guys. You guys are always in the forefront of technology, but also teaching technology. And that's why I'm here today. Our book, Accelerate Kids' latest venture here is called Creating Future Creators. It's going to be a series. The first one is called a Java Handbook for Educators. And the whole purpose there is to get kids kindergarten to 12th grade. Teachers who even teaching middle school most likely are the one that are going to get kids ready for computer science when they get to high school. So this is going to teach them everything we've been doing for the last 6 years at Accelerate Kid. And we feel we have the expertise, and our curriculums are all STEM.org accredited, which means that our curriculum are pretty well out there and fully studied as well as fully written to get teachers doing what most schools are trying to do, is to get kids understanding about how to use technology, how to program, and how to do gamification.
Mm-hmm.
I was just looking at the reports that came out from the Michigan Technology, I would get the MTBB or whatever it is, from the state. Never get that right. Anyway, and I was looking at Southeast Michigan and looking at what the top job categories would be going forward. And it's elementary and secondary school teachers that can teach STEM-related topics is one of the big things that there's a great need for out there, right?
That is very true. As a matter of fact, our book is a novel/handbook. So the reason why we did that was because how do we get the teachers interested in reading something like this? Especially most of the teachers are getting back to school starting in the fall. They do some professional development. So we thought that, let's make a book about a teacher. So the whole novel is based on a teacher who's coming from San Francisco to Detroit, and she's family isn't from Detroit, and she's a math teacher by trade. And when she landed at the Detroit Public School, she got handed a job of, hey, you're doing a coding club. It's actually happens quite often since we've been doing this for the last 6 years in the southeast area of Detroit, where we saw teachers are handed the jobs of teaching coding and they're not familiar with it. So our goal was to kind of put it in a perspective that has happened, and it's actually somewhat factual in regards to what the teacher has gone through. But the whole point is that anyone can learn, and our book is for them to be intermediate programmers.
All right. So, did you write the book? Did you have someone write? Oh, you okay?
Well,
That's
actually,
cool.
we have a team
Okay.
of writers.
All right.
So we have technical writers who write our curriculums for the last, our Accelerate Kid. We teach kids kindergarten to 8th grade about computer science, robotics, game design, and digital arts. We have centers around the southeast area of Michigan. So we've been writing curriculums for the last 6 years since we've been around. We took it to the next step. We said, hey, how can we be able to reach more teachers instead of kids, but teachers? So we thought this book was the way to do it. And most of my staff, Nick Carter is our main author on the book, and he has written not only our technical curriculums, but you'll see some of his experience in working with teachers as well.
Why don't we back up a little bit? This may be the first time that people have heard of Accelerate Kid. Why don't you explain that more detail?
Yeah. So Accelerate Kid started in 2013, and one of the things our main mission is to get young people, kindergarten to 8th grade, understanding about technology education and entrepreneurship. And the whole goal there was to create future innovators in our community who loves gaming. And we understand that a lot of kids are very fluent with technology these days, but what are you going to do with it? That's the question. I mean, they play games all the time with, and we understand that. And we understand that there's a lot of studies out there that show that kids who participate in some type of coding activity once a day have shown better result in assessment testing for math, arts, as well as science. So there's studies by Code.org has shown that. And so because of that, we felt like we need to do more than just show kids how to play games. We teach them how to create the games. And I just want to do one of the things that has been said is that esports is becoming a legal varsity
No, it
sport.
sure is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So what that means is that State Michigan have accepted that. That means that all these kids who are wanting to look at esports as a professional player, 1-2% of them will probably become professional players. But what can you do? You can't. You can create the next game. You can become the next graphic designer. There's so many other avenues within that same industry that you can do. And that's one of the reasons why Accelerate Kids here is to provide kids the opportunity to be ready before high school to do what they might be loved to do.
So, yeah, and there are careers in this. I mean, very lucrative ones too. We have, and I'm going to mention my employer, Lawrence Tech.
Get that bell ready.
Okay, yeah. But we've got a couple of majors there. We have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Game Art.
Yeah.
Really?
We also have a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science with a concentration on game software development. And there's a whole gaming club and culture at LTU, and we are far from the only school that does this, but we're pretty good at it. There are game jams, weekend game jams there all the time, which are essentially marathon 48-hour game development programs.
Yeah.
We have a gaming club that exhibits every year at a big event, the games they create. And there's also something called Infinite Machine. That's the game development club, and it sort of refers to the fact that people are always graduating and new people are coming in. So, but we have our alumni come back and talk to the current students about what their careers are. And some of them are working for game development companies, but most of them aren't. They're working for everything from Quicken Loans to the Federal Reserve to the Armed Forces even. I mean, they're
the ultimate game,
yeah,
right?
People, all of these young people play games now, right? Whether casual or more involved, and that's how you train people now. Is you have them play games. I mean, that's if you're confronted with this situation, what do you do?
Exactly.
And it's a matter of following the federal banking guidelines, but they turned that into a game. For heaven's sake.
I have to also add a plug to Lawrence Tech if you want to ring the bell.
Okay. Well, no, it's not your employer.
Well, the thing about it is that I believe Lawrence Tech's got globally is one of the top game design university.
Yeah, we're ranked. We're up there.
So,
Yeah.
so I can tell you that that's a good population that you're creating really good game designers.
Yeah, and this whole esports thing. We have a relationship with a television production company called Yellow Flag Productions that does a bunch of high school sports shows, and they're now covering esports as a high school sport. The MHSAA is somewhat resistant to it, but a lot of other states are not. And there are colleges now that have varsity esports teams that will give you a scholarship to go play esports for your college team. And they play a game called League of Legends, and there's there's a couple other games that they play. And we hosted a tournament for high schools at Lawrence Tech. We've done it like 3 years in a row now, and it's really funny to see two teams at tables on either side of a auditorium stage with a giant screen in the middle that's showing the game as it's being played. I'm there taking pictures. I have no idea what's going on, but all I know is that there's 200 people in the audience going absolutely crazy when something big happens, because they know what's going on.
It's like Battleship on a much larger scale, right?
And in the virtual world.
Yes, right.
Yeah. Well, that'll be the next thing is everybody will have VR goggles on and be able to sit in and watch it that way.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. I mean, that's coming. Unity, one of the folks that participated with us in our big conference in the spring, that's their big thing is 3D. So
Unity is one of the top game development platforms.
Right,
So,
yeah. So I get Greg Melling's always sending me stuff. So be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Well, we actually have our camp this week at Washington Community College is in Unity 3D game design.
Really?
So we got a good number of kids there, and we also teach at our summer camps at our location as well. So Unity is one of those games, but you also talk about Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite. They're opening up those platforms so that kids can create the games, the next arenas, using those games. So you don't have to play. If you know how to play it, that's kudos. But then if you can create the next game in that platform, it's another level.
All these products have a shelf life. People, they master them, they get bored. What's next,
Exactly.
So,
and that's where Accelerate Kid comes in, as a matter of fact. I mean, we don't want to focus on how you play the game, but how you create it, because eventually that technology, although the technology and platform might change, but creating the server is going to be the same thing, being able to find the right IP address, making sure that you have the URL, having the security in there. I mean, those are all going to be something you're going to be using regardless if it's going to be gaming or web server or, network server. So those are the type of things that we try to make sure the kids understand, the fundamentals. And all of our program are not only teaching them the technology, but also the 21st century skill set. That's critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communications. And those are the things you don't learn when you're learning things online. This is the social aspect that we believe Accelerate Kid provide, not only learning the technology.
So you have a book.
Yep.
You've got to do a book tour or a book launch event or that kind of thing.
I told him he needed to bring a copy to hold up.
Your video doesn't work.
Camera,
right. So are you doing a launch event or a tour or anything
like that?
Yes,
actually, there's two big events coming up. August 5th, we're going to launch it first on Amazon. We're going to do an ebook first. And the whole goal there is so that we can show that within our space, which is computer science, we feel like we have a top-notch book that will hopefully be a bestseller. From there, in a month from there, in September, we're going to do a book party out at Tech Town. Our partner and our nonprofit foundation, Accelerate for Kids Foundation, which is an arm of our company, is based out in Tech Town. So we're going to have the party there, so that way we can start working with first the Detroit Public School District.
Interesting. And we got about 3 minutes left. Now, you got any summer camps coming up you want to talk about that are still available?
Yes, we actually have quite a bit. Every week from now to the end of August, we have summer camps going at our two locations, one in Wixom, one in Masson Heights. And then we have summer classes going on as well. But all the camps revolves around Java, Python, Fortnite, Roblox, and then we got 3D printing and building your own computers. So all these are very popular, but we also work with a lot of partners, private schools, charter schools, and public schools to provide this technology, including the one I just talked about, the Unity 3D game design.
Yeah, sounds great. And how do kids find out about that? If they want to check these camps out, where do they go?
Go to our website. It's acceleratekid.com. And if you want to learn more about the book, it's acceleratekid.com/teach.
Okay,
teach.
so we got a little less than 2 minutes left. Tell us a little bit more about Accelerate Kid in general, how you came to establish this organization.
So our main focus there was, again, to get young kids, kindergarten to 8th grade, who loves gaming, who loves technology, an opportunity to learn about technology education, which we call tech ed, and entrepreneurship. Now, everyone talks about, well, is entrepreneurship really building your own company? Our focus on entrepreneurship is the characteristic of being an entrepreneur, and that, again, is being able to think creatively, critically, working with others and as collaboration, and also be able to pitch ideas. Because you might have the greatest ideas in sliced bread, but if these kids can't get people excited about who they are or what they do, it's kind of hard. So that's one of the things we focus on in all of our camps, classes, and clubs.
All right. And we still got a minute left. So
I talk pretty fast.
What is your personal background? Were you a coder at one point? Or
Yeah,
what?
I have.
Okay.
I'm actually a graduate from Michigan State University. First with an undergrad in electrical engineering, then got my master's in controls. Worked for GM for over 10 years, and then eventually got bitten by the entrepreneurship bug. But again, one of those kids who just never had the courage to kind of speak up. I had these great ideas, but didn't know how. So I took the step from going into the automotive to sales. And my first sales gig was with Eli Lilly, a pharmaceutical company. And they taught me everything I knew. And in the middle of my tenure at Eli Lilly, I wrote my first software company, which is Meant2Know, a electronic medical record for psychiatry.
Okay, Tan Tran from Accelerate Kid. That's acceleratekid.com. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Okay, we'll be back with another segment in just a minute. For right now, this is Matt Roush.
and Mike Brennan.
And you're listening and watching, hopefully, the
Yes.
M2 Techcast.
Are we ready?
Hey, it's Matt Roush.
And Mike Brennan.
And that was extremely low key. But
Yes.
we're back for another segment of the M2. I feel like I'm a late night FM DJ here.
Yeah.
We're back with another segment. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Well, we're here with a longtime friend of the show, someone who's been on the show probably half a dozen times, something like that.
Rob
yeah.
Ponto.
Yeah,
yes.
Rob Ponto, Senior Manager Public Relations at our friends at Comcast/Xfinity. And we have a little bit of Comcast and Xfinity news that just came out this week.
We do.
You've made an announcement about your Xfinity mobile service. What's happening with that?
Well, guys, first of all, it's great to be back on Pillow Talk.
Yeah, right. That was the name of the show. I was trying to
Yes.
remember. It could
the smooth tones of Matt Roush, you know.
There we go. So great news for Xfinity Internet customers. They can now bring their own Android devices to the Xfinity mobile platform. So if you have a Samsung Gallery S9, S9 Plus, S8, S8 Plus, or a Note 9 or 8, you can now bring those devices to our service.
Which is unusual because, as you know, what typically the other players want to do is have you buy their phone. They want to lock you into a 2-year contract, and you pay off the phone, and then they want to do it all over again, recycle.
Yep.
So for those of us that kind of like their phone, of course, now I have an older Android 7, so I'm not part of this program. But I mean, a lot of other people out there do have all these other phones, and they'll be able to get lower cost service and say, we won't name those other companies like Verizon, which I feel like is my firstborn male child every month.
Right.
You know, so
So if you have an older phone and it doesn't qualify for BYOD, bring your own device, you can bring it in and possibly trade it in to upgrade to a new phone.
Yep.
But I think we're finding that a lot of people are keeping their older devices.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, I'm not sure why. I think they get familiar with them. They are expensive.
Oh.
And you remember iPhones being launched? That used to be a really big deal every year. I don't think it's that big of a deal anymore.
You don't see people lined up around the block for them that we used to, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're past the early adapter thing where you had to be the new technology on the block and blah blah blah, and especially when phones cost $1,000 or more, that gives you pause. I mean, I can buy a MacBook Pro for about $1,200, you know, so amazing.
Right, and we used to be like that when we launched the service back in 2017. We sold the iPhones, we sold the Android phones. Later last year, we brought the Apple phones on BYOD, and now we're full circle with Android. So we're happy to be able to serve those.
So how about the Google phones? Are you going to add those eventually?
I think so. We'll see. More to come
Yep.
by the end of this year.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little about you have an interest in protecting customers against those robocalls, which
Yeah.
increasingly, I mean, I was getting them a lot on my VoIP line. I've noticed they're just dialing numbers at random, but I'm also starting to get them on my smartphone.
Yeah, absolutely. So being a tech leader, being a mobile phone company, and, well, not a mobile phone company, a mobile phone provider, and a landline provider, it's part of our job to help protect customers. And we've got 4 tips for our customers to use to protect themselves from robocalls because they're so annoying. I get probably 4 calls every day.
Well, I know right away if I got one. If I do pick up and there's a pause, I hang up because I know it's not somebody really calling me.
Yeah, and is it someone calling or is it AI, like a robot calling? You know,
Right.
they're so sophisticated now, you can't even tell. So it's pretty neat. But the first tip I want to give you is if you don't know the phone number,
Don't pick up.
don't pick up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let it go to voicemail and then pick up that voicemail later. If it's not who they or if it is a robocall, just put that phone number on the block list. So
Well, usually if it is a robocall, they don't leave a voicemail.
Yeah, typically.
Yeah.
yeah, I've been getting like at the end of a voicemail usually.
Right.
Car warranty. So if, I think
Or other things.
That's-
That's
things.
better
All
than
sorts of stuff.
better than Internal Revenue Services. That's
Oh,
my
yes.
personal favorite.
You have to pay now. I
Yeah.
mean, that isn't usually how it
and
works.
the IRS really wants an Apple iTunes card. You
Yeah,
know, I
right.
mean, I don't think
well,
so.
those phones are expensive, like we said. Right?
Yeah.
So the second tip is listen to that voicemail, and if it sounds like it's legit, call that company back, but don't call the number that they leave on your voicemail.
Right.
If they leave a voicemail, go to the mainline number and get clarity if they're making calls, if they're calling you. Just find out that way. Tip 3, if you happen to pick up, and this is a pretty obvious one, if you happen to pick up a robocall, don't give them any important information like your social security number, your credit card number, your address, anything like that. You just want to make sure you keep all that private information close to the vest. And then finally, our 4th tip, there are many apps out there that can help protect against robocalls. And we're partnering with a group called Hiya, which is a free app that helps protect against robocalls. It'll alert you if you're getting a robocall. It'll block a robocall. It'll ID it on your caller ID. And it even works with neighbor spoofing. Do you know what that is?
That's where they use the local area code.
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Yeah.
they get a contact list from somebody, right?
Right.
And they use those numbers.
Exactly.
Or appear to. Yeah.
So it helps with those too. And if you're getting just an incredible amount of calls from an area code maybe you shouldn't think you're getting them from, you can block those as well. So it's pretty cool.
Or I get very unusual area codes that I've never seen before. You know, that I look at and I go, where in the devil would that be? You know,
Right.
Or sometimes you can tell they're actually foreign calls coming in because there's so many numbers that'll display, and you realize that's not even a domestic call. So,
Yep.
So what do you see as some of the biggest phone scams going right now?
So, with this partnership with Hiya, they've actually given us some great information and some data. And the top 3 in Metro Detroit right now are these. One is the grandparent scam.
Oh yeah.
So a grandparent will be called, or unfortunately an elderly person. They like to prey on the elderly. And the caller will try to convince them that their grandchild is in some sort of trouble. And, of course, they need some kind of payment to help the grandchild out. So
Mine's only 9 months old, so I don't think that would be an issue. So,
Oh man! So the second one is what the one you mentioned, Matt, the IRS scam, and that's someone calling, impersonating the IRS, asking
demanding for money,
for
right
money,
away,
your
right.
back taxes due right away.
Yeah.
And I think they would send you a certified letter. I don't think
Absolutely.
they would.
I get attest to that.
I was going to say, the one time I got audited, it was virtually all by mail, and then the final hearing was like a conference call. You know,
wow!
But it was all mail before that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and they're real slow about moving. It takes them a couple of months to get things moving. So, it's not the IRS.
Okay, and the last one is, it's one I haven't heard of before, but it's called the Medic Alert Scam, and again, it's preying on the elderly.
Is that the I've fallen and I can't get up?
I
thing,
believe
or?
it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So, an elderly person will be called, and they'll be told that they did order this service, and in order to get the service, they have to, guess what, provide their credit card number. So if you have elderly people in your neighborhood, if your parents are still around, if your elderly friends, communicate with them. Let them know that these things are happening, because they're terrible, and we want to stop this.
Yeah, my in-laws are getting up there, and it used to be frustrating to me that they're not on the internet and still have a flip phone. But now, frankly, I'm kind of grateful because that sort of exempts them from a lot of these things.
My parents are no longer with us, but I can't even imagine them being on the internet. They would have fallen for every one of these scams.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know. So,
Well, also they gave us information about robocalls in the Detroit area. Those three top scams. Year over year, these calls have increased 86%.
Wow.
So it's just
it's
enough is
easy money,
enough.
right? You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
It's like your ransomware. I mean, all these cities now are getting hit in either paying it, the $600,000, or doing the whole new computer system over and paying $18 million.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that's the that's the evil genius of it, is that the amount of the ransom is never really all that huge,
Right.
and it's just sort of a nuisance to go ahead and pay it, but that just perpetuates the problem and means other people are going to get hit too.
It's like don't negotiate with terrorists, right?
Right. Well, I wanted to ask you about plain old television service, because I think this is This is a new golden age of television. There's just so much good stuff on right now,
Right.
And it's got to be just you guys have got to be really happy that there's so much quality content right now all over the place on all these various platforms that you offer.
Absolutely.
I watched Chernobyl. I've been
really good.
watching a whole bunch of stuff.
That
these
was a
days.
pretty
So-
heavy show.
Oh yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, not the feel good movie of the year. That's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely are. And, we're partnered with Netflix, Amazon Prime, through X1. So you can get all that content. You don't have to switch through different interfaces. You have it all on X1. So you can just log in once and then see everything on our guide from all the services you might subscribe to right on the TV. So it's pretty
And one
cool.
of the things you guys did was change your music service, because it used to be I would just say, give me classic rock, and it would come up and it'd be more like a radio station. But now they're giving me all the video. So that just happened over the last month or two.
So I think Music Choice, which is
Probably what I'm talking about. Right?
they now show video, even on the app on your phone, because
Really?
you'll get that free too if you subscribe to it on your TV. And we also have iHeartRadio as well, available through the TV, because most people's, this isn't the 80s or 70s anymore. Most people's best speakers are in their TV.
Yeah.
So might as well get it through
I'll
there.
get that sound bar and everything.
Yeah.
My neighbors complain about that, because I'm watching something and there's explosions. It's really loud, right? So. But anyway, and then also I didn't get a chance to put it up on my website, but I was going through mail from you and something about you have an iService for TV?
Yeah, so this is really cool. We have a special accessibility department in Philadelphia where we look at ways to make our products more convenient, more accessible to everybody, people with disabilities, everyone. So we've come up with a new remote feature that if you have a spinal cord injury or ALS or some kind of physical disability like that, you can use your eyes to change your channel. You can use your eyes to look at the guide, launch the sports app, all kinds of things through X1. And it's really cool. It pairs with the customer's own accessibility software. and you go to a website that we provide, which pairs with our X1 box. They pull this up on their tablet or on their laptop, and all they have to do is look at their screen, which the remote will be on, and they can use their eyes to move things around. So it's incredible.
That's insanely cool. Of course,
Yeah.
we're on the cusp of Elon Musk's direct computer brain interface now. So hey, but that's only if you're willing to have electrodes implanted in your
Yeah, I
skull.
think I'm going to
And
pass on that.
a little too Mark of the Beast for you there.
Yeah, yeah. They'll have a 666 in my scalp after that, right? So no, I don't think so. So
All right.
what else? Anything else? We got about 2 minutes left. Anything we missed that you want to
Well,
talk
I just want to add that, talking about accessibility, do you use the voice remote?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was born out of Tom Wondolowski, who heads up this department in our company. And when they developed that feature, it was for people who had muscular issues because you didn't want to touch those buttons. It was kind of hard to do that. So pressing one button and talking into the remote just seemed like a natural. So that's how that was born.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I use it all the time now. It's just easier.
He talks to his TV, so I mean,
Yeah, well, sometimes it talks back.
Yeah. All right, so people want to get more information, Rob Pondo, from Xfinity Comcast. How do they do that?
1-800-COMCAST or go on the internet at xfinity.com.
All right.
Okay, I want to thank Rob Ponto, Senior Manager Public Relations at Comcast and Xfinity, for being with us on the show today. I want to thank all of our guests today. We had Tan Tran from Accelerate Kid talking about a new book about computer coding training. We had Sean Gaydon, well, I almost got it right.
You almost got it.
CEO of Intacells. It's a client of our Centropolis Accelerator at Lawrence Tech. We got new battery technology. And we kicked off the show with Dave Phillips of IT and the D and Podcast Detroit about changes coming for the mothership here.
The man, the legend himself,
Yes.
the head geek.
And now he's off fixing stuff again. So
Yeah, I hope
next
so.
week, I swear next week, we will be in that new television
Gosh,
studio.
I hope so, because it's be
Yeah.
the fourth time that we've tried to get in there.
Well, you've heard that old saying, the fourth time is the charm.
Yeah, that's
right?
it, really, for
Okay.
us. Yeah.
Well, we'll be back next Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time with the M2Techcast. For right now, this is Matt Roush.
And Mike Brennan.
And you've been watching at PodcastDetroit.com.